What's up, everyone? Welcome to Locked In, the weekly, not really weekly, it's been multiple weeks since we posted, but weekly show that we talk about all things Deadlock, patch changes, our feelings on certain systems, mechanics, the whole 9 yards. With me, as always, I've got the Mangoose and the TheVikingJedi as well. Welcome, guys. Mangoose is our more veteran in terms of like hours played. He's got way more hours than both of us combined played in this game. And then Viking is our more like newbie intro player to the game, and we'll give all of our perspectives across the board. But Mangoose, give us a brief intro, and then Viking, on to you.
What's up, everybody? The Mangoose, you are awesome. I am a Yamato main once again. Thank God they finally gave her some buffs, and they reeled it back a little bit, much needed. They could probably reel it back even a little more, but yeah, I'm happy that Yamato is once again good. Kind of sad because now I don't get her as much. I used when she was bad. You know, I put my time in. Let me get my Yamato. I played her when she was bad. Anyway, rant end.
Perfect. We'll get into more of that later, I'm sure.
What's up, everybody? I'm the VikingJedi. I still don't have a cool YouTuber guy entrance, but I've been playing mostly Wraith. I tried playing some McGinnis after her buffs, but then they've slowly been nerfing her, and she's still highly contested. Lots of other people want to play her, so I've just been mostly playing Wraith. I've been really having fun with, I don't know if it's the optimal build, but the gun Wraith build, because it's just fun holding down left click and so
Go bird.
it feels good. So just been enjoying that, but nothing too crazy. Not like Yamato mains, apparently.
Perfect. And I am JellyKnees. I've been kind of jumping around heroes recently. I played McGinnis when she got buffed a couple patches back. Then I went to Warden. I've been playing Wraith some. I started playing Yamato again with the recent buffs. I'm jumping around all over the place right now, but I am originally a Haze main, even though that's to the chagrin of everybody on my team, I'm sure. But excited to be talking with everybody. But let's get into our first topic, which is the urns and the guardian changes that happened this patch. So for those that don't know, urns have been changed a little bit, that if your team is ahead or behind, it'll favor either the enemy side of the map or your side of the map, and if it's even, then it'll be back in normal places. They shifted the position of those team sided locations a little bit closer to the center, I think because it felt a little too oppressive, but honestly where they moved them to is not really that much different from where it was before, which is interesting. But the bigger change that in this is the guardians now change priority of target. If you're attacking an enemy hero while under the guardian, it'll lock onto you and start shooting you immediately. Viking, I know you have the most thoughts on that, so let's start there. What do you think about the guardian changes?
I mean, I think the Guardian ones, it's a good change. I don't know if it's like super meaningful yet, but I do think that it gives an opportunity for, you know, at least early on, where people probably aren't going to try to be as dive heavy as they have been, at least in the lower elo games that I play in. So that's nice. People seem to be more respectful, at least, of the turrets, which I think is a good thing. I want that to be a healthy aspect. So I'm sure they'll fine tune it and, you know, play with like the damage, because I think they upped the damage a little bit also. The turrets do. It's still not ramping damage like I want it to be, but I think it just does a little bit more damage overall. So I think it's a good change. But I haven't noticed like a massive difference in the 2 games that I played this week.
Yeah. Mangoose, what about you?
Well, we were discussing this earlier. I didn't really pay that much attention to the patch notes this time, and I kind of did that intentionally. I wanted to see what it was like to play this game without looking at the patch notes. It sucks. So much stuff changes, and it's like, what the fuck is going on? Like the last patch, like I saw like that some jungle camps got moved around, some got stuck to the ceiling, or put on the roof, stuck to the ceiling, put on the rooftop, and then I just scrolled all the way down to see if Yamato got any changes, and saw her changes and was like, yeah, and then that was it. So the changes to the urns moving closer to center, didn't even notice, didn't know that, because it wasn't that big of a change.
Yeah,
they really didn't move them that far, I guess. Right. As far as the guardians, like I realized it after a little bit, but for me, the way I play, usually if there are minions under a tower, I'm focusing on trying to get denies while they're desperately trying to clear out the minions, more than trying to hit the enemy hero. If I am hitting the enemy hero, it's something like a Yamato power slash, where it's just a quick blast and then I'm out. So I didn't notice that big of a change with the guardians, but I have noticed less people trying to tower dive, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think for me, it doesn't affect the way that I play in terms of taking the tower aggro super often at least, but it's definitely affected the way my enemies play, that every time they used to dive me, they now still try it, and then you just get one good parry on them after they've taken aggro and they just are screwed. Like I love that change for that aspect of it. It's not affected me, so I haven't really felt it too much, but it's definitely affecting the people I'm playing against as they've gotten really comfortable with those tower dives. The urn changes, I'm a little mixed on urn as a whole right now, in that the urn turn in sided changes, where if you're ahead or behind, it moves closer or further from your side, I think are good in concept. I think they've resulted in less urns being taken though, because if you're ahead in souls, you look at the top bar and you do the quick math of you're at 100k, they're at 90k, you go, oh, it's going to be on their side. That's more of a hassle than it's worth than for me to just do something else. Right. And I've noticed that a lot, people will pick up the urn, see where the turn-in is, and immediately drop it and just, nope, not worth my time anymore. And I think that's a bad change, even with the like 5 feet closer to the center change that they made this patch. I don't think that's as healthy as it could be when it comes down to the urn.
I just feel like urn is an awkward, like, neutral in general. It feels like it seems like my theory has been this whole time that they are trying to make it something that's like a team fight contest, you know, similar to a lot of other MOBAs. Like, you know, if you take League, for example, you know, want to group up for dragons, or, you know, for the other neutrals. And I still think that's the concept they're going for. It just doesn't seem to be quite happening as often in proof of concept. While I do like the ideas having them, you know, split and like slightly off center, especially in the rooms. I think the rooms are really neat as a place for people to have to go inside of, and you can set up and, you know, possibly create a cool team fighting moment. But I just don't see it happening all that often. Again, it feels like if you're super far ahead, it might be more risky to even go for it in the first place. So instead you just deny the enemy from being able to really get to the urn in the first place, and that's a safe enough play for you, and you just keep your lead. Whereas and then the people who are behind, they just see it as too risky to try and go for, so they don't even do it. And I think a big part of that might just be it's hard to get your team so far, at least in the culture of the game, to get behind the concept of like, we're all going to go for urn, we're all going to group for it and fight for it and do all this stuff. It feels like, you know, the solo queue mentality hasn't quite caught up to that concept. At least that's my observation. I don't know about you. And
I think it wasn't on my list to talk about today, but I think it's related now that I'm diving into a little more. The changes they made to kill gold, basically, right? That you get more souls later in the game for killing enemy heroes than you did previously before the patch. I think that also has a huge effect on it. I had a game after the initial patch, but before the one that happened today, where they slightly changed it, that my team got the urn, turned in the urn, but got completely wiped. We were ahead on souls going into the urn turn in, but because we got completely wiped, we were now down 20k souls even after the urn.
Jeez.
And that was where to me the urn became not worth it. Once you pass a certain threshold of the game, is you go like, if my team wipes, even if we get it, that's worse for us than just not taking it at all. And so that's where I think the changes are counterintuitive and making urn a weird objective, especially right now. I think if I had to pick like a version of the urn, I think 2 or 3 patches ago, where it was always centered, it was hyper valuable, but it caused team fights around it before kill gold or kill souls got adjusted. That was the quote unquote best version of the urn as an objective in and of itself.
I think the urn is weird because usually your secondary objective, like you always have a primary objective in a MOBA, or primary neutral, like mid boss is for Deadlock. This is a weird secondary neutral in that you don't fight over anything. You pick this urn up and carry it. Like there could be absolutely no fighting over the urn if you just are uncontested. So it sets up this weird scenario where people think that you could just run urn. Whereas usually, like, well, I'll take Predecessor, for example. You don't just jump into the Raptor pit. Right? Like, you get a couple picks, and then you do it. Yeah. It should kind of be the same way with Urn. You should get a couple picks, then run the Urn. Not what I see a lot of people doing. Either people will completely ignore the Urn to their detriment, or they will Hail Mary, try and run it every single time it's up, again, to their detriment, because they'll like Jelly said, there'll be a big team fight, and you'll either lose it or you'll get the urn, but you'll lose the team fight because you got one person trying to drop the urn in. Oh, it's kind of a mess. It's a messy objective. I just think that people need to treat it like a true secondary objective and stop treating it like it's just a quick game of capture the flag.
I like that. That's not something I've considered, is doing similar, like you said, to mid boss, where you get 3 or 4 picks and you go like, okay, mid boss is a safe thing to go do right now. Urn hasn't really been that in my games. It's treated that way. I mean, I think the only like devil's advocate on the other side of it is the time it takes to take urn from one side of the map to the other is so long that I could take, if I clear 2 to 3 people, I could take a walker, or we could take 2 walkers somewhere on the map. That is almost more effective in its own way. And that's where I think the urn cross map could be part of the problem. If they went back to maybe dead center of the map, that could help, but you've got other problems in that too. So it's a weird mix right now.
Yeah.
But let's move on to our second topic, which is just kind of like a ranked check-in and see how we're all feeling about ranked. I know this week, Mangoose, you went into Obscurus because you didn't get your same 7 games in last week. Viking, you're unranked, but still Obscurus technically is the same way. I actually moved up this week, 1 division inside Phantom, so I'm Phantom 3 now. But I want to do a quick check-in. Mangoose, get your thoughts first on where you're at feeling in ranked wise.
I just want to say, I'm Obscurus now, but when I do queue up for ranked, I'm against Eternus and Acolyte. Like I'm still against like the same people that I was already against.
Yeah.
So it's not like I completely reset just because I didn't play my ranked games that 1 week. So that's kind of cool. The more it goes on, the more I dislike not having that immediate feedback on rank. Having to wait a week, it really like you get like I'll get to like Friday or Saturday and I haven't played any ranked games yet because shit's going on throughout the week, and I just don't want to. I'm like, I don't want to fucking deal with this right now. Even though the games aren't that different between just playing a quick match or playing ranked, I don't know. It just I would like the immediate feedback, and there's another problem I have that I know Jedi's going to bring up, so I'll just wait for him to do it.
I think on that note too, is it almost for me as well has turned into like I got to do my weekly chores for for Deadlock. Is I've got to do my weekly chores of 7 games of ranked. Right. And last week I didn't feel so bad about it. This week I've had to like almost actively sit myself down and be like, okay, if I want to have a rank next week, I need to sit down and play ranked. Right. Like, and I haven't wanted to do that for that exact reason, Mangoose. But Viking, we'll let you get into your thoughts real quick.
Yeah, I mean, the big one for me was I finished my games. I did 1 game of ranked. I kind of enjoyed it, the fact that it was like solo queue and it was, pretty competitive, so that was fun. But yeah, it was immediately I was just like, wait, why am I doing this? Like, I'm not getting anything out of it right now. There's no big like reward for pushing for it. I kind of lost motivation because exactly what you guys are saying. There's just not anything really different about ranked versus just playing quick, because like if we play quick, then the 3 of us can play at least. Then I'm playing with friends and that's like social and it's more fun, and it's still just as sweaty in my opinion as playing ranked. So I haven't noticed much difference culturally between that. So but the big thing is the instant feedback on how you performed, and then no draft, still no draft, and no draft feels really bad in a ranked environment. It really stinks, especially for me as someone who's still relatively new and not putting in tons and tons of hours, but still want to play something a little bit more competitive. Like, I don't know all the matchups that well. I don't know all the different things. And like having my champion pool be split between 3 champions and then go up against, I could get hard countered and not even have anything to say or do about it. Like it just stinks. It feels bad. It's not a fun, engaging system for me personally. And so I'm not motivated because I don't gain anything or lose anything really from playing ranked or not playing ranked. So it's like, whatever, I don't care. I'd rather just, when I play, I'd rather play with friends at this point, you know what I mean? Versus solo queue where it's just like meh.
Yeah. And that's, for me last week, it's the first time I've been like significantly up on wins in ranked rather than like 50-50 or maybe slightly lower on wins than losses for parts of the week. And it was harder to play ranked when I was winning than it was when I was losing. That I ended up being like 6 wins and 1 loss at one point last week. And the last thing I wanted to do was queue up for more ranked because I felt like I was putting myself at risk doing so.
Yeah, I would wonder like a number, like how many people are hitting their 7 games and just calling it there. Like I can't imagine myself unless I went like 0-7. Then I'm like, oh fuck it, who cares? It doesn't matter, right? I can just do whatever I want. But like if you went like 6-7, 5-7, I'm not touching that. I'm not going in there. You know what I mean? Like, but if I was getting instant feedback, I'm like, oh, my rank really hasn't gone up that much. Oh, I'm just gonna keep going then. Screw it.
That's exactly what it was. Is once I was 6-1, I was like, great. I have played my 7 games for the week. I could stop here. I have significantly more wins than losses. And when I was then like, okay, you know what? I'll keep playing because I realistically wanted to bring that even further, more wins, fewer losses. But I was like, but once I get one more loss, I'm out. Whatever that means. Right. So if the second I get one more loss, I'm not touching it anymore. That's a terrible feeling as like a gamer wanting to play competitively. That I'm like, I will only play competitively as long as I don't lose one more time, right? Like that doesn't make any sense from what realistically it should be. Whereas this week even and last week, where I was down on losses earlier on in the week, I felt like, okay, it was almost the complete opposite effect. Having not seen it yet is like, I still have time to make up for those losses. Right. And that's where I think not being able to see it is almost better because I don't feel like I've lost it yet. And I feel like I can make it up. But I would still rather be closer to 50-50 where if I'm winning, I want to play. And if I'm losing, I want to play rather than only wanting to play when I'm losing, which doesn't make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Mangoose, what about you on that?
Yeah, I 100% agree that the first week I played, I went 5-2 or whatever. Like I definitely did not want to play another one because I was like, oh, I might get myself a good rank. But then I think the main thing is that's dissuading me from playing ranked, that Jedi brought up is the draft. It is, some of the team matchups are so unfair. And I know people are going to say, well, if you're skilled enough, you can still work through it. The idea of having ranked is that you have generally equally skilled teams. And in that scenario where you have equally skilled people on either side of that map, the team that has like an Abrams and a Kelvin and an Infernus and like all you got are DPS and like they have all kinds of crazy engage.
Yep.
Or like you have like both Vindicta and Grey Talon, which is hell to lane against, but late game, like if enemy team has a Lash, enemy team may as well not have a Vindicta and a Grey Talon because Lash is just going to fucking feed on him. Same with Yamato. Yamato will just crush a Grey Talon and a Vindicta. It's very unfair as far as the draft thing goes.
And
it just doesn't feel right for ranked.
Yeah, there's almost a morale thing added to that of not having draft, because the second I load into a game and I look at those team compositions, there's a pretty good idea of where this game is going to go already in that, right? Whereas at least if there was a draft, then if we went in stupidly, that's our own fault. It's not because I had to select 3 people minimum and 2 of them were in a good draft with what my team ended up getting, and the one that I got was the third that wasn't as good with that draft. It feels terrible.
Yeah, I that's my biggest complaint. That, and also the not being able to choose your lanes. I still think that's an issue in ranked. We haven't really touched on that in a while, I feel like, but like if you're used to playing solo and then you're put into a duo situation, but the champion you're playing isn't one that you're familiar with playing in a duo role. I mean, I can't really say anything. I'm not used to duo or solo. I'm just kind of wherever I go is where I try to get used to it. But it matters a lot more in ranked. I mean, even to the point where I would imagine the outside lanes, the lane that you're more familiar with is going to matter as well. And it just feels really weird in a competitive semi-MOBA style game to not have that prioritized and not have that. And I know we're giving them a hard time on this. This is still very early access and all this, but to me, I'd almost just rather, if you're not going to have all the systems that most people are familiar with in ranked, just don't have ranked. Like I don't see the benefit or value of ranked currently in its current system, other than a locked in solo queue environment, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think, you know, there is benefits of not having to, you know, be a solo player and not have to go up against a 6-stack, which you could, you know, so it's like, again, I just don't, what's the value?
Yeah.
Where's the benefits?
Hey guys, actually this is JellyKnees from the edit, and I realized that the audio was messed up on 2 of the sections that we talked about. So we actually were going into the Hero Labs discussion, but the audio was messed up there, and later on we talk about balance changes. So you may notice some weird cuts. I apologize for that, but we'll get those fixed into next week, and we should have a full show for that. But thanks for watching, and continue on. I appreciate it. What that is, if you haven't seen on the Reddit post or even in the Discord, I've seen a couple tags about it. Right now, the tip of the week is if you're pushing out lanes past 8 minutes, do it with a friend, because your team overall nets more souls than if you did it by yourself. That's the big thing. Toward that end, it's been a bit controversial, and there was a patch today nerfing it a little bit, because you would effectively be able to double the soul count for your team if you end up in a lane together pushing a wave at the same time, because the lanes duplicate the souls to the first 2 people that were there. Now it's only 75% split across both of them, but that's still a net increase in souls overall when you're pushing with a buddy rather than pushing by yourself. So I'd love to kind of gauge your guys' thoughts on that as a whole.
This is again something that I didn't realize at first because, like I said, I didn't read the patch notes all that closely this time, as not nearly as close as I used to. I was very surprised that the amount of souls I was still getting later in the game. I'm like, what the hell is going on? That's when I was like, all right, I gotta fucking look this up. I didn't even know. This is something really important. This isn't like, you know, camp location changes that I can just figure out on my own. I've got to look up what's going on with the souls. And yeah, it's I don't know. They've had a lot of troubles trying to balance out how they want to distribute the souls amongst people in lanes, because you don't want to have the situation where they had, you know, somebody just balancing between lanes to get funneled all of the souls, so they were like a super carry. And then you know, you had it for a while where you didn't want 2 people in lane after 8 minutes, because then you weren't getting as much souls. You wanted somebody to go out and start farming while one person gets the souls from the lane. I don't know. Well, I think they'll eventually land on something that works. Maybe this is it. I don't think this is it, but we'll see. We'll see what else they come up with.
I'm curious if what they do is they boost trooper soul totals overall, and then just hit hard the sharing of those souls when multiple people are there. Because like I said, right now, basically what it is if you're by yourself, you get the 100% of the soul total. If there's 2 people there, it's 75%. So it's still more souls than if you were by yourself. It goes from 100 to 150 if you're aggregating. Then for every person then thereafter, it's around 140% souls total that you're getting from the troopers themselves. I think that needs to get hit harder, so it's 100% regardless. That the total when you're adding everybody together is 100% of the soul value, but probably need to increase trooper soul counts a little bit to compensate for that. That way it doesn't matter. That way I love split pushing, especially if I see a team fight over on purple. I'm like, I'm going to yellow and I'm going to take that walker, right? That feels worse now because I'm not giving my team as much money as they could get if somebody else was with me. And so it's this weird dichotomy around it that they'll definitely have to figure out a better way to do.
I mean, yeah, I think the biggest one for me is kind of what you touched on there. It's like this split pushing, solo split pusher feels less ideal. It's not like it's still not important or can be valuable, right? Obviously, we know it can be from a macro standpoint, but like it does feel not as good. I don't know what the solution is. My only one that I kind of thought of, but I don't know if it would really work, is that you apply that, but only to the 2 inner lanes where the splitting of souls is a little bit is shared, and then the 2 outers don't have it at all. So that way you're still getting that solo duo lane, because it does feel weird, like before these changes, where it's like if you were the duo and like you're kind of like torn between where should I go. Well, I don't want to take souls from the guy who's in a safe lane right now, so I don't want to show up there. Someone's already farming the jungle, so I can't really go and get that. So I'm just kind of like left standing around, not really sure of what to do, and then eventually it's just like, okay, well, let me go at least be somewhere so I can try and help or whatever. And so I like the idea that, like, for those people who are, you know, unsure of where they're supposed to be, you're still gaining value, you're still, you know, getting your souls and getting the chance to be powerful later on in the game. But like, yeah, so I don't know if the solution is just like solo get solo and duo gets duo or something along those lines. I don't know. Again, it feels like this is the drawback of them being a hybrid game of a shooter, a hero shooter, and trying to be also a MOBA. And they're having a hard time, I think, walking that line to an extent and kind of not breaking a niche, but kind of having their own niche. I don't know how to describe it. It feels like that these systems and why they feel odd a lot of times are the ones that we're struggling with it versus normal established MOBAs have it a lot more, you know, at least for all of us as players, because we're used to it. At one point that was all new, and you know, those things weren't things that existed before. So yeah, I think it's just going to be one of those things where we have to be, as players, patient, and we'll see how it eventually shakes out. Same thing with like the urn, same thing with like mid boss changes. Anytime they're trying to do a big system change and how it's going to mess with the economy, same thing with the kills now being worth more later, blah blah blah, all those things. Like, that's all MOBA stuff. That feels like they've kind of nailed down the shooter stuff. It's now determining how they want to be as a MOBA and what that looks like, that they're kind of really fumbling around and not messing up, I don't think, but it seems like they're just testing stuff. They're trying things and trying to find what feels good as a whole while still being a hero shooter, which, you know, is a difficult task, but I believe in these guys to be able to figure it out.
Yeah, they're showing that they're willing to iterate in some drastic ways. Whether it feels good or not, they're willing to look and see and then adjust accordingly. Yeah. We've seen them put out changes and backtrack on them right afterwards because they realize that, yeah, nope, bad change, our bad. Like, which I appreciate. So
Yamato changes.
That's a whole different beast, but we'll get into that now. Let's move into our balance.
No, man. The biggest thing for me, again, just kind of going back to ranked, is the what you guys said. Like, I mean, you guys play this game way more often than I do, but even just in the little bit that I play it, you guys kind of hit the nail on the head. It feels like a chore to want to jump in and play ranked, and to me, that's a failed system. Then, like, that just doesn't. That's not what you want to hear from your players. So hopefully the devs are taking a hard look at it. You know, and maybe we're the weird ones. I don't know. Maybe the rest of the community as a whole feels like ranked is fucking perfect and there's no issues. But to me, it feels like a waste of a login. And for me, like, as a casual player, I have no desire really to log in and play ranked because I just don't gain anything from it. I'd rather just wait for the boys to be like, hey, I'm getting on, anybody want to play some quick play or, you know, whatever, or Heroes Lab. So then I'm more inclined to do those queues than ranked. It's just ranked does nothing for me right now.
Yeah, Mangoose, what about you? What are your final thoughts?
I just shout out to that Abrams we faced earlier. That was the best Abrams I've ever seen in my life.
Dude,
he made Abrams look intelligent. Like, I've faced some good Abrams players, but everything they do seems dumb. Like, oh, duh, charge punch. This motherfucker warp stoned into the fountain while I was trying to heal and then charged me back out and into a wall. Like, this dude was doing some insane shit with Abrams that I've never thought possible. So shout out to that guy.
For that one, because you said that happened. I was like, what? I need to see it. That's crazy.
When trying to pull footage for today for this recording, I went into that game. Some of the stuff that guy pulled off was insane. Like, I have never seen. I would see him like dash jump into tower, parry the Guardian, and then dash charge and grab the hero and run away with him. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can parry the Guardian. That's, I do. Have you never seen me? We've been in lane together.
That's so stupid. Why would you be able to parry the Guardian?
Yeah, it keeps it. It keeps it from hurting your minions. Like, you jump in and parry it.
Yep.
That's more time that the Guardian's not attacking your minions.
That's the dumbest thing on the planet Earth. Okay, I've changed my final thought. They need to get rid of being able to parry the Guardian.
Scoofo111, that's his name, Mangoose. I just looked it up, so I can say that.
Yeah, that guy was fucking nuts on Abrams.
Insane. Spectate his games, learn how to play Abrams like that, and be on my team. If you're on the enemy team, don't spectate his games. Don't learn how to play Abrams like that, please, for the love of God.
What's that mean? Like just like his like one pop off thing where everything was like in line and he was just like mega minding it. Like he's like never played it this good in his life and he's never going to ever again. And this was it.
He just saw the Matrix that one game.
It just all came together.
He did.
Good for him.
Cool. Any other final thoughts, Mangoose?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm kind of in the same camp as what Viking said about ranked. Generally, I'm really enjoying the massive swings the devs are willing to take, even if they miss, right?
Sure.
The game is early enough on, and for the most part, even the massive swings when they miss have their own kind of fun to them that I'm like spending a patch going like, you know what? This is dumb, but I'm going to enjoy it, right? Like one of those actually I'll touch on is Hero Labs. Like I said, I've been playing a lot of that. Wrecker's got a change where she used to be able to just consume a minion and it gave her a stack on her abilities and extra fire rate. They changed it so now that she can target anybody with that, except it basically removes the ability to move. It's better Paradox 3. So Abrams could be mid-charge, you hit him with a consume and he just stands there charging in place and can't move or do anything. It's the most ridiculous busted nonsense that needs to be removed off that damn hero. It's wild.
That's cool.
And she has an upgrade where it then targets everybody in range. So then you can basically an entire team to be like, none of you can move for 5 seconds. And she heals and does damage the whole time. It's terrible, terrible ability. Get rid of it. That's my final thought. I can't do this. Wrecker's busted as hell.
Well, that's so funny you say that because when I first tested Wrecker, I was like, Wrecker feels odd at best.
Yes.
And now that sounds kind of awesome.
I guess final thought while I'm talking about Wrecker and talking crap about her as well. I swear to God, I heard a voice line today talking about Wrecker that said, I see the truck stop butt baby. And I believe that is a voice line. And if it is, I will die laughing every time I hear it from now on when it talks about Wrecker. But
they got some raunchy voice lines.
Oh my God.
But guys, I appreciate you joining me. Everybody, thanks for watching. We appreciate you for going through all of this with us. And we'll see you next week whenever we post. Assuming it's next week or the week after, we'll find out. But yeah, bye guys.
That's dependent, you know?
Yeah.
We'll see.